An investor named Allison came to me and she was white as a ghost. She had a bunch of short-term rentals and she was terrified that one mistake would lead to a lawsuit that would take it all away. I had just finished speaking at the STR Wealth Conference about limited liability companies and limited partnerships, and she had plenty of questions. So here's the step-by-step guide that I showed Allison that calmed her down and taught her what to do next. Why do you need an LLC or a limited partnership at all? The goal of asset protection is to separate your ownership from the control of the asset. By using limited liability companies and limited partnerships, you can achieve that goal while also maintaining your tax benefits and making you a better candidate for your next loan. Allison wanted to start with LLCs. What's so great about them anyway? When you move the ownership of an asset into an LLC, you no longer own the asset, but you maintain control and establish liability protection for all the members of the LLC. The law provides you a veil of protection. So let's say someone slips and falls on wet stairs at Allison's Airbnb and she didn't have a handrail and someone brings a lawsuit. If she has her property in an LLC, it helps make it much more likely that the attorney is going to sue the LLC and not her individually, because now she doesn't own the property even though she maintains control. It makes it much more likely that the lawsuit will be limited to the LLC and make it much more difficult for the attacking attorney to get to her personal assets because of that veil of protection. Allison then asked, but what about piercing the veil? I've read that on the internet. Is it a real thing? It is true. Even though the LLC provides you a veil of protection, you have to be aware of the fact that every state has certain formalities you must follow and certain rules you must abide by in order to treat your business like a legitimate business. Otherwise, you can lose that veil of protection. For example, you must always make a clear distinction between business assets and personal assets. Business credit cards and personal credit cards. If not, what will happen is that attacking attorney will come in a lawsuit and they will say there is nothing more than commingling of funds, or this business is being run like a joke. And as a result of that, the court could agree and decide that they can actually bring a lawsuit against you personally, even though you're a member on that LLC. And now everything that's happened in that LLC, you can be personally liable for, which allows the attorney to get to your personal assets. Allison then asked, okay, fine. So I need to have my property in an LLC, but what's the downside if I just leave it in an LLC? Should I do anything else? Two things. First of all, if you only put your property in an LLC without using a holding company strategy, you will not have privacy. In other words, the attacking attorney is going to be able to see your name listed as a member, and they can bring a lawsuit against you as a member as well as the LLC, and it makes it much more likely they may be able to pierce the veil. But secondly, you also have no charging order protection. And this is probably the most important, because without charging order protection, what can happen is if that attorney brings a lawsuit against that property in the LLC and they win, they can actually make you sell the property, give them the equity in order to satisfy the judgment. Honestly, that did not make Allison feel much better. So she asked me next, well, Jeff, how do I protect myself from charging orders? Let's pause for a moment and talk about what a holding company is. I showed Allison that she could set up her Florida LLC as a single member LLC that is owned by her Wyoming LLC holding company. The state of Wyoming has special rules for LLCs when they're used in the place of a holding company. So now Allison could have both privacy, which means no one could see that she was the one that's involved in the actual LLC, and she would also have charging order protection, which means now no one can actually get access to the property if she were to lose in a lawsuit. This is critical because an attacking attorney would now be much more likely to try to go for an insurance settlement than to try to attack both the underlying LLC in Florida and the Wyoming LLC. Why? Because they know they can't force a sale of the asset in order to satisfy the judgment. Allison was so excited at this point, but I had to give her the next warning. Wyoming LLC is wonderful as a holding company approach unless you start to really grow your portfolio. The problem is once the portfolio begins to expand, you have to be careful because now you will have no post-lawsuit flexibility if one of your LLCs is sued. That's fancy lawyer talk for saying that if you get sued, everything in that holding company, the Wyoming LLC holding company, locks down and freezes. So that means if you have multiple assets owned by a Wyoming LLC, if one of those LLCs gets sued, now you have a problem because you can't move any properties out and you can't move any money out. Otherwise, that will be deemed a fraudulent transfer, and now the court will have clawback provisions which allow those assets to be brought back in to satisfy the judgment. Allison at this point was pretty exasperated. She said, well, Jeff, is there a better way? Yes, she could consider a limited partnership. A limited partnership is an entity that is established by two partners, a general partner and a limited partner. A general partner is a partner that's involved in the day-to-day activities, and as a result of that, because they are active, they have unlimited liability in the partnership. However, limited partners are not involved in that day-to-day activity, and they're much more passive. So as a result of that, they have no liability for the actions of the partnership. By using an Arizona limited partnership, Allison was now able to both maintain privacy and charging order protection, but now she could have post-lawsuit flexibility. Allison was still looking at me very confused, so I started again from the very top. First, you need to set up an Arizona limited partnership. You have to then decide who's going to be your general partner. In this situation, we can make a Wyoming LLC the general partner, but Allison now has less liability, but yet she still has the opportunity to maintain control and run everything, yet also maintain her tax benefits and her lending. The general partner owns 1% of the portfolio, and the limited partner, which we use a family trust in that position, owns 99% of the portfolio. By using a limited partner trust, you now can kill two birds with one stone. In one way, that trust can play the role of estate planning to allow you to take care of your beneficiaries, take care of your trustee, take care of replacing the need for a will. You don't have to worry about a will contest or probate court. But in the second way, it also provides you asset protection to play the role of the limited partner in the partnership. So let's say that her property in Florida gets sued. If that property in Florida that's in an LLC gets sued, the great part about it is the limited partner trust may now sever the relationship with the general partner Wyoming LLC, and now that trust can get out of town without it being a fraudulent transfer, and Allison maintains asset protection. But a quick warning, in order for it to be effective, you have to make sure that you draft the limited partnership agreement properly, and you must do it before a lawsuit ever begins. I began to notice Allison had the color coming back to her face. So she looked at me now and said, okay, Jeff, I have more options, but what should I do? I told her, I said, look, Allison, if you have a small portfolio and you have no plans of growing that portfolio, specifically high-risk real estate assets like short-term rentals, then the Wyoming LLC holding company approach is ideal because now you have privacy and charging order protection. However, if you plan on growing your portfolio or placing a larger percentage of your net worth into high-risk assets like short-term rentals, long-term rentals, multifamily units, now you need to make sure and consider an asset protection structure that provides you the most flexibility and the most protection. Of course, you should always consult a tax professional and a real estate attorney. But we at STR Law Guys will provide a free consultation, walk you through your options, and help you decide what you should do. Go to strlawguys.com or click the link in the video description below, and we'd be happy to help you out.